So let's talk about signs that you're good at it. The opposite of this, you're getting jumped in on in key moments. You are a step ahead in key moments. Keyword, proactive. In these key moments where the weaker player is getting jumped in on, like those trades, those, after throw tech, after getting hit by your fireball, after getting knocked down, after getting anti-aired, after getting whiff punished. These moments where there's likely to be an interpretation of a mistake is what I'm trying to tell you guys. Those situations where it seems like it can be easily interpreted as a mistake, those are key moments. The strong fireball expert recognizes the moment unfolding and immediately applies the solution, which is usually wait, right? It's typically what it is, because the emotional player is going to take the risk. So just simply insertion of a pause of mindfulness can make or break a round. You have to be a step ahead in these moments. You have to identify the potential of it occurring, unfolding, because like Silver's saying, he's so reactive. If you're too reactive, you don't consider context, right? So you only react to things that you're looking for. But when you create context around things, you don't have to react. You already understand the situation. What's stronger than reactions is being proactive, right? Because there's a swiftness, and you're so swift, you're so decisive that shit could put fear in the hearts of your opponent, because they have no idea how you just did what you did. So number 2, you're completely committed. Or the opposite of the player that's indecisive is somebody that is committed. They are completely committed to what they're doing. The reason is they understand that at worst, they're learning. Not just the game, but their opponent, themselves, the fireball game, the matchup, tools, your spacing, your footsies. That's a lot. So many things that you're learning. So it's okay. You know that you'll be okay. That's what will help you. To be completely committed requires confidence, right? But nobody can give you your confidence. Nobody can take it away from you. Nobody can give you it. That all comes at your own discretion, with your permission. You understand? What makes me confident, what's always made me confident, is no matter what happens, I'll be okay. That's how I've always been crazy confident at the shit that I'm confident at. But anytime I think about like winning or losing, my focus is out of whack, and then I'm not confident anymore, because I know my focus is too powerful for it to be on anything other than the moment, right? So I lose my confidence when I think about the things I want, because it makes me operate not at my best. Me at my best is when I'm in the flow, right? When you see people play on CFN, they play the way they play because they think that's how they win, because that's how they've been winning when they win. That's also how they've been losing, but they've been winning enough, just enough to satisfy that craving of winning, so that they don't investigate how to get better. That's why you learn more when you lose, because you're like, what? You have to objectively face the truth. But when you win, it's very, very difficult for people to win and then still want to improve, because they get satisfied. So you want to be completely committed. You want to understand that at the very worst, you're going to be learning something. So the third bad example was throwing fireballs out of fear instead of through it. So number 3 is going to be quality focus in the now. What does this mean? This builds off of what we just talked about. You have to be completely immersed in what is directly in front of you. You have to be like this. I have to look at this. I don't look at this. I look at this. This over here is the game, the results, winning, losing, the things that might happen. This is what is actually happening. You understand? You have to learn to concentrate here, and what ends up happening is you get so good at this that you know what's gonna be behind it. You understand? I don't have to wait to get here, because if you keep waiting to get there, you're reactive. And when you're reactive, you can get manipulated. Understand? But when you're proactive, you have a philosophy, you have direction, you have structure, and a foundation, which means you can consistently generate results, good or bad, which are measurable and will propel you forward as long as you do the due diligence and investigate on how to improve. Imagine how difficult it is to throw a fireball and not assume what's gonna happen, but instead learn what's gonna happen. That shit is, if you watch your matches, I guarantee you'll be surprised at how often you don't really pay attention to your opponent. Like, you think you're paying attention to them, but you're not. Like, you have like an ulterior motive. Learning somebody is learning them for who they are, not what you want them to be. So you have to prioritize the experience, not the results. That's how you stay in the now. You have to strengthen your connection to the present. You have to prioritize the experience. But if you strongly desire something, it pulls you out of the moment, and now you're skewed in your perceptions and how to achieve things, and it actually sets you back the more that you focus on the thing down the road. Number 4, doing the bare minimum. Wasted movement was number 4. The opposite quality is doing the bare minimum, okay, which is in turn energy management. So when you manage your energy, it does several things. It helps you to maintain focus because you're not bouncing off the walls mentally and exerting effort and fatiguing quickly because of doing so. Doing the bare minimum, it helps you maintain your energy for longer durations. It helps you stay more present-minded because you've simplified things. When you simplify, it's a lot easier for you to focus on what's in front of you. Complexity is what usually introduces thought. So when things are complicated, that's when thought wants to come in, and then when thoughts come in, that's when emotions are there, right? So simplicity and doing the bare minimum will look like Medusa style. It'll look like sitting still. It'll look like letting my opponent do stuff sometimes. It'll look like doing the same thing 5 times in a row. It'll look like walking up and crouch blocking and doing nothing. It'll look like jumping back or backdashing and doing nothing. You don't always have to commit to something. In that moment of making a decision, learning how to be okay with what you just did. Like, you don't have to continuously add on. Sometimes addition by subtraction is how you're going to get good results. But we're not taught that. We're taught to continuously compound, add, get a car, get a house, get a this, get a that, okay, but what about subtracting the distractions, subtracting things that are not in your priority? Not all things matter equally. And that's something that you'll learn by practicing this. By doing the least amount necessary, you start to internalize your own truth of that. Some ways to manage your energy is to have a strategy. The ghost analogy, like I've mentioned, I know D-Wade loves that one. That will help you not overcomplicate shit. Once you simplify things, it's a lot easier to go through your diagnostics of why the shit isn't working. What is the challenge? Imagine I have a big ass machine in my hand, right? Just complicated, so many thousands of parts. You have to go and figure out what the fuck is wrong with this machine, right? Whereas if I had another machine on this side, and this machine was like, only had 5 parts in it, it's a lot easier for you to figure out what exactly went wrong in that machine, right? So that's why it's wise to simplify your strategy, to be one-track minded, have one objective in mind, right? But still maintain flexibility. I'm not saying to be rigid, okay? But what I'm saying is to put your heart and soul into that one thing. Every single situation, that one thing, and it's constantly changing if it has to. Because the thing is we don't want to admit it, but sometimes luck plays a big role in winning, right? And the thing about doing the bare minimum is that you might accidentally put yourself at a position that takes advantage of your opponent overextending. That's where luck comes into play. It's the things I didn't have any direct control over, but because I masterfully control the things that are within my realm of control, the things that I influenced ended up working in my favor. Because luck is preparation meeting opportunity. You could be prepared, an opportunity never pops up. You can have an opportunity pop up, but you aren't prepared. How can I be prepared if my mind is zinging 5,000 directions at the same time? Is your mind is going in so many different directions that the opportunities that are actually happening in front of you, you just keep missing it. But you don't know that because you're operating from what's familiar. And to do something that is contradicting what you're used to, that will naturally bring discomfort. That's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens. But if you want something new, you have to introduce something that is unfamiliar. Understand? because the extension of your results are only going to go as far as whatever habits you've reinforced and whatever belief system you abide to. So every time that you are doing a lot, you're also giving your opponent opportunities. So if they're prepared, guess what happens? Luck is on their side. That's how you got to look at it. So you constantly resorting to taking action and being really active is dangerous if it's not done so masterfully with like careful deliberation. Not to say you have to be rigid and always have a reason, or not a reason, but like a structured thought to why you do stuff. You know, you don't need to do that because it'll make you play slow. But you do want to have structure so that you can internalize the things that you want that are going to help you succeed. You do it enough and then you'll be able to do it without thinking. Then you play with complete speed and decisiveness. But remember too, every time you take an action, that opens up the possibility of your opponent getting an opportunity. All right? So that's why conserving your energy is wise. Not just for that, but also let's say you're in a tournament. The less that you exert in one match, you're conserving that energy for the rest of the tournament, right? You might fizzle out by the time you get out of pools because your mind is just so burnt out. Even let's talk at a micro scale inside of the match. You're not doing much. It's harder to read you. It's harder to take advantage. It's harder to read you. Now your opponent, guess what they start doing? They start getting active, which now creates more opportunities. And if you're prepared, guess what that converts into? Luck. So our last lower quality habit of people with bad fireball habits was the failure to recognize shifts in your opponent. So the opposite is recognizing lash outs or overextension. That's what I like to basically call these things. Okay, so recognizing these lash outs, the best fireball experts, they can recognize in a situation where it's likely somebody will lash out. So I'll give you an example. Does not matter what character you play. If I played Nash, it doesn't matter. Anybody has a fireball, I will be able to win a lot simply off of understanding these things, right? And one of these things are, if I hit somebody with a heavy attack and that heavy pushback results in zone 3 or fireball spacing, they are more likely to resort to an emotionally driven decision. Why? It could be a couple of things, because you end up putting them at fireball spacing, which is a spacing you don't really want to be at against zoning characters, but it's also jump spacing, which entices people because of the reward that you can get off of a jump in, right? But it can also be from the frustration of getting hit by the fireball that's causing the opponent to want to lash out, right? So in these moments, these situations, these boxes as they occur, I've seen them so often with so much attention and mindfulness that I see my own little truth coming out of it. So my truth is my own experience, right? So you want to learn these situations so that you can form your own belief system. Me telling you this is not going to help you recall and create your own truths, because when you create your own truths, it's a lot easier for you to recall things. If I give you something that it's regurgitated by you as your truth, but it's really from me, you have to filter Zaf's perspective and then filter it your brain, then filter your perception of it, and then the way you actually do it. Instead, why not just get the experience right there, live and direct, full effect, and make it your own thing? So that filter, you just cut off the middleman. It's just you, the skill, the situation, not a belief that I've carried on and I've been holding on to, and I haven't really made my own yet. That makes sense? So recognizing lash outs as a zoning player is you seeing the situations that we mentioned earlier and carefully mitigating your risk around that. The trades, the throw tech, after getting hit by a heavy attack, after showing one fireball, after getting hit by a fireball. It could be a whiff punish, it could be a knockdown, it can be a throw at a certain range, it can be when you are about to corner your opponent, when you walk back, when you backdash, when you jump back, when they jump back, when you neutral jump, it's so different. But the key is that these lash outs are typically contradictions in your opponent's behavior, things that they don't really do, but all of a sudden they're doing it. That's how you leverage that, and you can beat people with fireballs. So let's recap this. let's recap this. So signs that you're bad. You're getting jumped in on in key moments. You're indecisive. You're throwing fireballs out of fear instead of through it. Okay? And experiencing that and realizing the fear is not really real. You're wasting movement, and you fail to recognize shifts in your opponent's behavior. Okay? So the good traits, the good qualities that a great zoner will have is that they are a step ahead in those key moments by being proactive. They don't rely entirely on reactions. They're completely committed. They understand that at worst, they're learning. The game, themselves, the matchup, characters, the tool sets, the concepts, the theories, right? Number 3, they have a quality focus in the now. They prioritize what is directly in front of them. They understand potential as an extension of the moment, but their full focus is on what is in front of them at that time. A great fireball player does the bare minimum. They manage their energy fluidly. They only extend or overexert when it's necessary to the moment. When they have to put some oomph into the strike, they have to put some force into the match. It's strategically. It's not out of a fear, a desire, and they're not giving up a lot of information as a result of doing so. So it's much harder to read the player. It's much harder to get a knack for when they're throwing fireballs because this player is not really doing anything. And now you're so focused on what they're not doing that you forget your own strategy. And lastly, recognizing lash outs. Recognizing those moments where contradictions are likely to occur. V-trigger activate when they get super after a trade, maybe after a crush counter, after getting hit by a fireball, seeing one fireball, after getting anti-aired with a soft air reset, right? Not a knockdown like a DP, but an air reset, like a poke. Some people get hit and they just immediately jump again, right? Stuff like that. Maybe blocking 2 fireballs, blocking a fireball after an air reset. Situations are constantly changing, but the idea is for you to just simplify your play, and you'll be able to see these events unfold because you'll be prioritizing something more important than just winning, which is learning. Cool beans. I hope that helps everybody that tuned in. I know this was a long awaited video, so hopefully it lived up to the hype. I hope it didn't just help you with the fireball game, hoping it just help you with Street Fighter in general, but also with life. You know what I'm saying? Because these are success principles that you can take with you into business and relationships, a lot of things. Because the beauty of the fireball game, a lot of it relies on you. It's just you. So you are your biggest challenge when it comes to throwing a fireball successfully. So now if you got to the end of this lesson, now you probably understand a little bit more when you go and watch Daigo throw 6 fireballs in a row. Or if you watch the replay and you see this opponent jumped in on me. Or if you want to see exactly what to improve upon, you now have elements and ideas and theories that you can strive towards. Something that's measurable. Something very important for goals, just in general, right? So with that being said, I hope you guys understand why your fireball game sucks, why it can get better, and why it will be better. And if you guys enjoyed, please consider come hanging out with us. Like the video, comment on the video below, and let me know what you think. Any questions, any ideas for topics, lessons you'd like, feel free to let me know. With that being said, we're done.